Ah, Christmas. Once again it comes. Peace on earth, glad tidings. And oh yes, the worst episode of an entire series. Why I started this tradition, I have no idea, but if you're new here, Christmas I celebrate a series by reviewing the worst episode of its entire run. I don't know why, perhaps I have a lingering hatred for Santa Claus. Given all the Stargate I've covered this year, well, it's fitting that this year SG-1 gets its turn. So here it is, Emancipation. One of the common threads in all of these terrible episodes is that they are, at best, rather demeaning to women. Threshold is probably the least offensive in that regard. It has Janeway transformed into a salamander woman that is impregnated by Tom, but it does allow for the fact that she might have initiated the mating and not him, so yay victory for women. A Night in Sickbay has a subplot involving Archer's abuse of T'Pol blamed upon his inexplicable sudden sexual obsession with her. So that explains everything. Prophet and Lace has Quark transformed into a woman and thus demeans women, transgenders, and anyone who is forced to watch it. Star Trek V has the elderly Uhura doing erotic dance to distract the guards and throwing herself at Scotty in another inexplicable sudden sexual obsession, neither of which were particularly welcome to the audience, who might as well have been watching their grandmothers shop for vibrators. And last year's Doctor Who episode, The Twin Dilemma, had the title character strangle the female lead in between verbally abusing her. It seems all these people took the Christmas message as peace on earth and goodwill to men. Women can go make us some fucking sandwiches. But I left one off the list, and for good reason. Star Trek The Next Generation's Code of Honor, which also treated women horribly, but was unique amongst all of these. It's the only one on the entire list that was written by a woman. Catherine Powers. Now you could maybe blame that on the other writer who was male, or on the director, the one who said, this implies they might be Asian, so I'll make the aliens all black. But then, exactly 10 years later, Powers joined work on Stargate SG-1 and gave them Emancipation, which has all the worst parts of Code of Honor, except they didn't turn the Asians black, they kept them Asian. Except, of course, for the one who was white, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. This disaster of an episode is so terrible that when the series went into syndication, they would almost always just skip it, which is fine because it is utterly inconsequential and frankly best forgotten. Until now. Just like Code of Honor, Emancipation is the third episode of the series, and also the team's first contact with life on another world after the pilot. It needs to help establish the routine. In the case of Code of Honor, that was apparently to bend over and take it from every tin pot leader of a planet that decides he wants to dick with them, while Picard fumes impotently at him. In this case, it's that the locals will all speak perfect English, and Daniel will make incredibly impractical suggestions. But enough talking about it, let's get down to examining this travesty. As the first official arrival on another world, Carter comes through the gate while the Stargate theme plays to remind us of the dramatic event this is. If only the drama would last.
There's no signs of human life.
This could be some forbidden zone.
They could be living in the sixth dimension. But they realize they're not alone. Someone's being chased by wild dogs, but our heroes chase the dogs off. Not only do these people speak perfect English...
You okay? Okay. Oh.
Yes, I am.
They even know slang that was only invented a century and a half ago. After some uncomfortable pleasantries are exchanged, Teal'c and Carter return. And of course, the guy's totally nonplussed at a pair of white guys. A black man with gold stitched into his forehead? That's just another day at the office. But a woman? That's unthinkable. Why, she could start menstruating at any moment. She's a time bomb.
No, I can't look at you.
It's fine, dude. You're thinking of Gorgons. That's a very specific type of woman. You'd be amazed at how many won't actually turn you into stone. But no, Carter is quickly found guilty of having boobs in the first degree, and when 3 guys on horseback show up looking for dog meat, they're prepared to kill her for that crime. After we break for the titles, Jack fires off a few rounds to make it clear he's not going to let them just kill Carter, and her machine gun makes it clear she's not dying without turning them into Swiss cheese. Or rather, Mongolian cheese. Daniel thinks they're Mongols. Tensions ease slightly when this guy's father arrives in his Hershey's Kiss hat, grateful that his son lives and confused as to why they're prepared to kill his rescuers.
That one is a woman.
I know it. I've seen pictures of one. He wonders what the hell those things are.
That It's a firearm. It shoots like your bow shoots an arrow.
She speaks. She dies.
Christ, we get it. They treat women unfairly here. This is the first time I've seen someone use a straw man of their own position. However, because she saved Dogmeat's life, it's decreed that her life is to be spared. How gracious. Carter suggests the only logical thing.
I'm thinking we should just go back while we're ahead.
But as I said, Daniel is here to say the stupidest fucking things possible.
If we learn their customs, we'll be okay.
Yeah, you'll be okay. They were going to kill Carter just for answering a question. That's kind of a steep learning curve, don't you think?
It's an incredible opportunity to study an ancient culture up close.
Point 1. Then get an anthropology team in here, because this isn't something you're going to learn over a weekend, you know. You know, I should totally hang out with these guys, for science. Point 2. On what basis do you assume that they're an ancient culture? You've seen 4 guys. In my book, you really can't judge whether or not something is an ancient culture unless they can at least field a basketball team. And last, but most definitely not least, your wife was kidnapped. She's possessed. And based upon the fact that her naked form was being ogled before being chosen to be Apophyse's queen, she's almost certainly being violated on a fairly regular basis. And now, on your first assignment, upon discovering no help at all in finding out where she's been taken, or anything that can be used as a means of tracking or fighting the Goa'uld, all you're thinking about is hanging around to see if you might learn something useless that you couldn't even share with the academic community if you learned anything. But as we'll see, much like how Picard was convinced that the best thing to do was nothing when some strange man kidnaps one of his female officers, the men of SG-1 are suddenly adopting personas ranging from clueless to childish. And if your story is so lame that it can't go forward without turning your characters into idiots, you have failed miserably. You can't even present any kind of a lesson in this crap. If that was indeed the intent, I've no idea. This is fumbling so badly, I'm not sure if there's a garbled message in there hiding behind the incompetence. So they show up in this village of maybe 25 people from whom Daniel will divine the secrets of a civilization that's spread across a continent. The women are all veiled when they come out of their special women pen, an area surrounded by rugs so the men can't see them. But once they get in private, then Carter doesn't have to worry. It's only death if she speaks or shows her face in public. I mean, we're not unreasonable here. And in private, Mughal explains that he only did it because it was the law. He really doesn't approve of their national policy of killing people for no good reason. But what can you do? I mean, you got to think about the midterms. You don't want to lose seats in the pro-wanton murder districts, do you? But he got a way out since Carter helped save Abu. Yes, that kid is named after the monkey from Aladdin, just in case you had even a sliver of respect left for him to ensure that that got quickly evaporated. And Carter's dignity is lost just as fast.
I'm afraid you cannot go until you are properly attired.
Properly attired?
You should probably do what they want. Anthropologists do it all the time. They dress and live as the people they're studying.
I'm not an anthropologist.
You are today.
That's the Colonel O'Neill we know and love. Someone who finds it hilarious that the local bigots will shame someone under his command just because. She can't get some kind of special dispensation or something? Because if not, why is she even frickin' here? They won't let her talk to anybody, so she's not going to be able to contribute anything to the mission, such as it is. And Teal'c probably gives less than a shit about this since he joined O'Neill to fight the Goa'uld. Let him and Carter go back home and do something more useful. Specifically, anything. But no, instead, while Carter learns the finer points of chopping vegetables, Jack and Daniel look at an anesthetic the locals have. If only I had some to deal with this painful episode. So next thing you know, Carter is dressed like a cross between a medieval Slavic princess and the world's most audacious ninja. Abu thinks that she's the hottest hottie in history, and O'Neill seems to agree with him, which is exactly what the show needs 2 episodes after her uncomfortable entrance into the series, to further prove that O'Neill is actually a sexist pig, towards one of his own subordinates, no less. It's an interesting balance the show strives for, huh? The women get to look like jackasses, and the men get to act like jackasses. Well, while the men get to throw a big party to honor the goddess of yak fucking or whatever, Carter is left to sleep in a yurt, though it doesn't last long as 2 men slip in, hold a knife to her throat, and make off with her. One of them turns out to be Abu, proof that no good deed goes unpunished.
There's something I want, more than life itself. Until yesterday, I thought it was impossible. And then I saw you, dressed like that. And I knew your beauty would buy it for me.
So after Code of Honor, when the audience had a negative reaction to a foreigner kidnapping the pretty blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl and treating her like a piece of property, Powers apparently smacked her forehead and said, well, of course they reacted that way. He was black. If he was Asian, everything would have been fine. Now, Luton from Code of Honor was a shallow, self-absorbed jackhole convinced that he was a crafty bastard, but turned out he was only half right. But even he wasn't stooping as low as Abu here, who is planning to sell Carter into slavery with a far more hard-line ruler than his father, that will lead to a miserable life for her, alternating between chopping vegetables and sucking dicks. And he knows this. Please remember that. It's going to be very important later on. But first, ominous music.
Be warned.